to exceed. It's so great to see what was once an idea manifest itself into these tangible moments and artifacts and experiences and areas that will really have far and reaching deep impact on everyone's lives. Today, I'll be introducing to you the 5 steps to change your life. And I think this is really worthwhile. I could have done a goal setting session today, couldn't I, going into the new year. This, I think, is more powerful. It's more fundamental, so that when it comes time for you to make a decision on what your goals are for 2022, and this is personally and naturally professionally, which there'll be some internal team coming out this week, some key impact there, that this is an even stronger foundation to be working from. But before we get there, a little recap and another big thank you. I'd like to express to Nina for taking all of these sessions and getting them into our courses section. We then do this too. Thank you, Nina, if everyone take a moment to share a bit of love for Nina. Appreciate you for doing this. So any of the sessions that you would like to go back and recap on, all you need to do is click on courses, go to Exceed, and you'll find these in that section there. So if we just take a moment to think of what we've done, we've covered liking our job versus loving our job, that Simon Sinek about you have permission to love, creating a rich and connected family life, looking at family traditions, the affirmation buddy, building connections. And then most recently we did the building financial freedom. Here's a little insight on that one too. That was talking about the investment properties approach to build passive income into the future. Now, ultimately, I'd like to see that everyone gets the equivalent of their salary or more as passive income into the future, so that there comes a point where you retire and you just money keeps flowing through. Now, I learned from the CEO of nook.com.ph. Nook.com.ph is the first mortgage aggregator that brings together all the different banks to get you the best deal on a mortgage. And really important for investment properties. You know what he told me yesterday? This is wild. If you change jobs in the last 12 months, banks will not give you a home loan. If you've got 3 years of stable time with the same employer, oh, by the way, even if you change for a higher salary, they don't, it's not logical, but they just don't take it. They want to see that you've been stable for 3 years. Isn't that fascinating? I didn't know that one. I think it's important that everyone gets to appreciate this, especially when it comes to building wealth for your futures, because property is such a key component of any asset strategy. We've built this Exceed Institute around the whole person paradigm. So we covered the 8th habit. We looked at the voice finder questions around need, passion, talent, conscience. I think we've got passion there twice. Building a personal mission statement, personal goals around the OKRXs, and level 5 leadership, the concept of disagree and commit. And I think what was probably the most popular session of 2021, Waiteba, what you think about, you bring about. Now, all of these, if you feel like catching them on a more, while you're at home or just on your own device, here's how you do it. You go to your Do This Too app, get down to the Learn section, click on Courses, and you can learn from anywhere, Salim, that's right. Scroll down and you'll find Exceed Institute and all the other courses available on here. You can click on those lessons, and when you go into a particular lesson or topic, you'll find those videos there. You simply show it and you can play it. You go back and recap that information. So that's all available for you there. We've done this intentionally. This goes to our value of discovery. And I learned a really great tip from Tim Grover, who wrote the book Relentless. And he's the guy that trained Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all the strength and conditioning coach. And I was listening to him speak only about a week ago, or maybe 2. And he's like, what are we doing trying to shove all this new information into our brains all the time? This is like, pick one thing and re-watch it and replay it for the next 30 days. And just watch how deep your knowledge around that item, and watch the impact that it actually has in your life. And so I'll put it to you, if there was one thing to do in the next 30 days, it's actually this next topic I'm going to share with you today. And it fits into the whole person paradigm under the area of mind, maybe even heart, spirit, and body as well, I think, once you get through it. And this is it, the 5 Steps to Change Your Life by Dr. Joe Dispenza. We're going to start the session by taking 3 minutes with Dr. Joe so you can get to know him. He's going to speak about these 5 changes to your life, and then we'll look at each of those steps separately. Then afterwards, I encourage you to come back and revisit this. It's only 3 minutes, do it every day for the next 30 days, and watch how impactful this will become in your life. Let's check it out. The first part here.
Dr. Joe Dispenza here. I want to take a moment and teach you some basic tools to begin to change your life. When you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. Number 1, take some time out of your busy lives to disconnect from your world. Shut your cell phone off, turn the TV off, power down your computer, sit your body down for a few minutes and close your eyes. Number 1. Number 2, take some breaths and center yourself. When you center your attention into the present moment, you have more energy to create with. When your mind wanders to the predictable future or the familiar past, that's normal. Just become aware of it and keep working on settling yourself back down into the present moment. When you're in the present moment, you're the most creative. Number 3, ask yourself, can I be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past? What do I want in my life? And take the time to answer the question. As you begin to contemplate and think about the answer to the question, you're changing your brain. When you make your brain fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, that's the beginning steps of changing your mind. Next, decide on the emotions you'll feel when you begin to create that future, and teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like. And don't get up until you begin to feel those emotions. Next step, step number 4, rehearse in your mind who you're going to be when you open your eyes, the things you have to do, the choices you have to make, the steps you have to take, and review them over and over again. Number 5, you can't go to the future holding on to the biology of your past. Decide what thoughts you can bring to your future. Write them down. Thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, I'll start tomorrow, what's wrong with me, it's someone else's fault. Decide on what behaviors or actions or unconscious habits you have to change. How do you talk? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? Just become so conscious of those behaviors that you'll never go unconscious again. And lastly, you have to decide what emotions no longer belong in your future. That means if you want to be wealthy, you can't take lack. If you want to be healthy, you can't take insecurity or fear. You got to begin to condition your body to a new mind. If you do this every single day, your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. Change any one of those things and you change your life. And begin to measure the effects of you at cause. Give it a shot.
These are powerful words, and the first time you hear it, it kind of goes a little fast, and yet I'm so grateful that this can be distilled into 3 minutes. Now here it is broken down so that we can help to have these words almost tattooed into our brains. Now, those 5 steps are: disconnect from the world, breathe and center yourself, create your future self, rehearse that new, and let go of your past. Now, in this, really interestingly, my insight is that what Joe's doing here is preparing you for meditation and actually getting yourself into that meditation so that you can have this greater impact. Now, remember this simple and powerful concept that words are the language of the brain, emotions are the language of the body, it's feelings, and then you get that output that comes at the other end. So you think, act, and feel becomes very powerful here. So Disconnect from the world. Take some time out of your busy lives to disconnect from your world. Shut your cell phone off, turn the TV off, power down your computer, sit your body down for a few minutes and close your eyes. We are constantly bombarded with information and sensations. And all of that kind of is vibrating in a way that kind of can shake you out, can be quite overwhelming, especially when you're in a role where you're connecting with other people and you're connecting with the level of empathy to really listen and hear. And when you do that, you're actually absorbing quite a fair bit of energy that's not that one that you've chosen to, it's coming from outside. So we actually really benefit from just shutting it all down and calming the mind back to a position where you're getting back in control. And especially when we start to understand, I'm going to go really deep into neuroscience next year, so we can understand the impact on the brain. And this is where everything begins, and we are in control of it if we choose to be in control of our physiology. The deeper we understand it, the better we actually, better influence we have. Kevin's just said, yeah, disconnect to connect, right? We need to get ourselves back to a center position in order to be the most effective versions of ourselves. So breathe and center yourself. Take some breaths and center yourself. We ran out of time to do that. To do the breathing exercise, didn't we, Fee? I was talking too much. When you center your attention in the present moment, right? So this is the big part, the present moment, not the past, not the future, but come back to the present. Remember, that's where the flow state exists, in the present moment. As Peter Crone says, future doesn't even exist, right? It's all made up. Right here is where life actually happens. You have more energy to create when your mind wanders to the predictable future or the familiar past. So forgive me, you've got more energy to create with, should be comma, or even a full stop here. So being in the present moment is actually where you have more energy to create. Okay, not when your mind wanders to the future, predictable future or the familiar past. Those two take you away from the present moment. The creativity comes when you're right in the moment. That's the flow state part. It's very normal to wander to the future or go feel the comfort of the familiar past, okay? But they are not going to help you get into the present zone and really get into that flow state and create even more. And it's in that creation time where we get the progress and we get the greatest joys and feeling of happiness. But become aware of both of those every time you find it. And it's okay. It's normal to be there. It's not saying don't do it. It's just being aware of it so you can then bring yourself back to the present, which is where we live. We don't live in the future. We don't live in the past. We live here. When you're in the present moment, you're the most creative version of yourself. It's allowing ourselves to really be inquisitive about those thoughts, acknowledge when you are and go, oh, yeah, that's right. Now I'm coming back to this present moment. Now, next, number 3 is to create your future self. Ask yourself, can I be defined by a vision of the future instead of memories of the past? What do I want my life to be? And then actually take the time to answer that question. What do I want my life to be? There's one action to do every day is to think about this. What do I want my life to be? And as you begin to contemplate and think about the answer to the question, you're actually changing your brain. I love this. The fact that we start to envision what we desire, we start to create those neural pathways, because what are we? We're just electricity being run through these nerve centers. And in doing so, you're actually creating what that future looks like. You are literally changing your brain. And the fMRI technology, which is the live scans of the brain, actually show this happen. And the ability for people to light up new neural pathways in their brains. We are remarkably in control of this when we understand it and we choose to do it. When you make your brain fire and new sequences and new patterns and new combinations occur, you're actually changing that brain. That's the beginning steps of changing your mind. Next, decide on the emotions you'll feel when you begin to create that future. Now, this is incredibly powerful and so very important. And I feel almost at the age of 44 is like, why did it take this long to get to understand this? So I hope this is a real gift for you. Our memories are actually connected to emotions, or we lock our memories in via emotions and emotional states. So the greater the emotion, the greater the memory. Now, that can be a reactive thing that's happened in your life, or you can declare it to be a proactive part of creating your life. So as you start to think about this person that you desire to be in the future, your personal reality comes from changing your personality. When you declare what that version of yourself is going to be like and you connect the emotion to it, you'll create a stronger neural pathway so that it becomes easier for you to move in that direction and become that person. So whether it's a goal or who you want to be, all these, connect the emotion to it and teach your body emotionally what the future is going to feel like. And don't get up out of that state where you're sitting there with your eyes closed and you're breathing and centering yourself until you begin to feel those emotions. Actually bring those emotions forward. And now you're actually designing your future in your physiology so that you take forward the action at a subconscious level. It's said that only about 5% of our thoughts come from our conscious mind, and 95% of our thoughts come from our subconscious mind. And we apparently have around 80,000 thoughts a day, and the majority of them are the same. So if the majority of those thoughts are the same, what are we actually saying to ourselves? What are the emotions that we're evoking subconsciously? What is the programming that we've put in place? Are we in control of that? Now, what would happen if we actually spent the time each day to pause and get really hard locked in and set on these emotions and that desire of the person that we will become? Now, 4 is rehearse the new you. So while you're sitting there, eyes closed, breathing deeply, picturing, visioning the future and getting those emotions connected, rehearse in your mind who you're going to be when you open your eyes. The things you have to do, the choices you have to make, the steps you have to take, and review them over and over and over again, right? You're starting to rewrite that program in there in preparation for them taking on the day and doing it with elective choice, declare it, the direction that you'll be taking, the person that you'll be. Number 5, let go of the past. You can't go to the future holding on to the biology of your past. And this is to me, this is like a breakthrough moment, realizing that when our thoughts are actually connected to emotions, they're so deeply embedded that it impacts our biology. So we actually need to release those out and decide what thoughts you can bring to your future. Write them down. All those thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, I'll start tomorrow. What's wrong with me? It's someone else's fault. You hear all this doubt, fear, worry, concern, or blame, excuse, denial, quit coming in here. Rather, decide on what behaviors or actions or unconscious habits you have to change. And how do you talk? How do you talk to yourself? Do you complain and blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? Just become so conscious of those behaviors, you'll never go unconscious again. Here's the consideration, the trick in it, is that it's not about never having those thoughts. That's not possible. The key is that when those thoughts come in, you become consciously aware of them so that you can actually overwrite them with a different thought. That's actually how we reprogram ourselves. And most importantly, that subconscious brain, if it's serving up these items, we're seeing it and kind of self-policing, pushing it out of the way. Do you remember our above the line, below the line model that we would have learned right at the very beginning in an onboarding session or early in our time together? That's this happening here. It's having these models in our mind so that when we hit one of these thoughts, we're actually going, I don't do that. That's old me. I take from above the line. That is what I choose to put in my program. That is the person that I am. That is the effective approach. And so letting go of that past, you can't go to the future holding on biology of the past. We actually need to rewrite this, and we have the power to do it. Now, lastly, Joe shares there, you have to decide what emotions no longer belong in your future. That means if you want to be wealthy, you can't take lack. If you want to be healthy, you can't take insecurity or fear. You've got to begin to condition your body to a new mind. And we're literally choosing this at this point in time. If you do this every single day, your personality creates your personal reality. I just love this line. There's all these, like, Vishen Lakhiani, he will call them rules, the bullshit rules that have bubbled up in our lives because parents have told us, or influential people have told us that things need to actually be a certain way, and the reality is they don't. And people often say, oh, you know, people don't change. That's a rule. People do change. People are designed for change. We are just the force of change in our own lives. We're the essence of change, and we evolve, right? We are not the same person. We have traits that we fall back into at times. We are absolutely a different person today than we were last year, and you'll be a completely different person, an evolution of yourself again in 12 months' time. That I guarantee. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So just think of how you're starting to think differently now. The greater information that we have available to us, we start to think differently. We therefore act differently, and we feel differently. Change any one of these things and you change your life and begin to measure the effects you with cause will be. So think about you with cause, you with purpose, and that impact it has. You know, as 2022 evolves, and as you go into it, for many of us, we'll start to do things like create New Year's resolutions. I encourage you to watch this 3-minute video, or if it helps you, come back to the full session here as we work through these words with even more greater, I think, resolve. Then repeat this regularly. I'll put it out to challenge you to do it daily between now and the end of the year, even just that 3-minute video. And then do the exercise, disconnect from the world, breathe and center yourself, create your future self, rehearse the new you, let go of your past, and watch how powerful 2022 becomes and how quickly you find your ability to control and get into your flow state. This is just one of the many great tools we'll see as we come forward into 2022. Your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. Change any one of those things and you change your life and begin to measure the effects of you with cause. So give it a shot. Thank you, Joe Dispenza. I recommend you finding him online as well, and look to any of those items to subscribe and follow. Now we've got lots of comments here, so if you haven't been reading,
read Vic's comments, and Sol made a great comment. It's so remarkable to see the mindset of our team.
I love this. According to Mary Vic said, according to cognitive neuroscientists, we are conscious of only about 5% of our cognitive activity, right? So most of our decisions, actions, emotions, behavior depend on 95% of our brain activity. It goes beyond the conscious awareness to tap into 95%. Silence, reflection, meditation are very important. Deep thinking, planning, strategic thinking for the future. You know, often there has been this, you got to hustle, got to work, work harder. And then we hear the work smarter, but none of it has a framework. They're just like high level words. And once we figure out why it's important and then how to do it, next thing we can start to take the action. And connecting this to, there are so many parts of this that are foundational principles of life. If you want to have an effective day, you need to sleep. Your brain needs to clean out all the muck and when I call it the muck, it's actually all of the things like cortisol, all the hormones that have triggered off during the day that are required, all those chemicals, that's the word I was looking for, all the chemicals that allow our brains to work. It needs to be rinsed out so that you can go and have a fresh day. So sleep is so important. Now, at the same time, if you imagine the stimulus that occurs with everything going around from the people to the TV to the social media to, I'm going to go back to bad TV, and and all that stimulus that occurs are firing us in a really overstimulated way. If we're not then pausing and coming back to our purpose, our reason for being, our why, we will be subject to somebody else's purpose and reason why. And I tell you, especially on things like reality TV shows where the producers, they are artists at evoking emotion. Yet our brains weren't designed to have so much emotion stimulus at us. And have you ever watched give me one in the chat, have you ever watched a TV series on Netflix from like almost start to finish, or you've been really quite deep in it, and next thing you're dreaming about the TV series? Give me one in the chat. Or even like words from that series have popped into your mind. Yeah, I mean, like this stuff, yeah, I got a ha-ha in it. Isn't it massively impactful? Now, I use this as like the telescopic lens to realize just how impactful. Rob's got it right, brainwashing, right? So how will you wash your brain? How will you feed it? Because it's like these nutrients that are put in, they're either good or bad. This is going to become your reality. And I have these moments of awareness of, oh my goodness, if that's popping into my brain, I think I've been watching too much Netflix. Time to get back to doing something more productive. And then I think we've got to wrap up. I'm running out of time.
Hey, Matt, just quickly, it would be really great to share these slides straight after by email, if that's possible. And then I know then it goes to the Do This Too platform. Is that correct?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So could I call on Nina to help with that one, perhaps? Or
yeah. And the other one would be, you know, the link that you sent me for the podcast or the YouTube interview between the gentleman who I can't remember his name, but I know his face really well, with Joe, because that's a really great one of Joe explaining the why behind he's done all this research and learning. Fascinating story.
That one is change your life type stuff. So I will get that one. I'll actually get that link to everyone right now, and then we'll close up in just a second.
Yeah. I think it's a story about he had a very bad cycling accident.
Yeah, so he healed himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the deeper and deeper we go on this stuff, the more I'm like, yeah, we really got to get to embracing this. Check out this YouTube. This was shared to me through a group of entrepreneurs that I've been involved with for a long time, and some really people I really respect. Oops, it's too much for it to pass. I'm going to drop it in our general chat over on Slack as well. That's the link to the YouTube. I've got a summary of a whole bunch of points in it. It really is good foundational material. I think I've watched it 3 times so far while listened to it while running. And here's just a crazy little interesting insight. If you've been struggling with your exercise lately and you want to do more, find someone. This is what's worked for me. Listening to Joe's material for me is so interesting that I get myself into like the flow state while exercising. And previously, if anyone's ever gone for a walk or a run and you're thinking, oh, when do I get to the end mark? And you're kind of watching your watch and, oh, I hope this is over soon. The more you're looking at that, the harder it gets. And I found in the last couple of weeks that listening to this material while I'm exercising, I'm just forgetting time. And I think last week I did something like 3 runs that were over 50 minutes, and I haven't done it for a long time. And I put it down to just getting into that mental flow state and forgetting about the core activity. And anyway, we're over time now. Love to everyone. Thank you for a remarkable 2021, and looking forward to us together collectively just blowing our minds when we look back at the end of 2022 and go, what? Have a look at how much we've evolved, how much we've achieved. I'm beyond excited and get all the tingles thinking about the possibilities of the year ahead. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for everyone for joining. And I've just got to say, when we see the comments and the feedback from our organisation and development team, how aligned they are with you, Matt, it's pretty exciting where all this learning is going to take us into that flow state, because you have this whole amazing team to support you. So here's to not just you, it's that whole team behind you now.
Stand on the shoulders of giants, I say. So
and
very
you've
grateful.
got that. So 2022 will be our year of flow for everyone. So thank you.
Go team!
Go team!
A power clap is going to get even more powerful now. Oh, sorry, some of the people on the call won't know this because it was on the internal team. So it's going to come out within the next week that our name evolves. We're actually not shifting to global office. We're actually shifting to GoTeam. We're just in the process of acquiring the URL, go.team. So you can expect our sign-offs to get quite powerful on this one. But hey, I'm going to welcome everyone to open up their microphones. Let's finish with a power clap, which will be our bring on the flow. On the count of three, open up your microphones, take yourself off mute. Power clap to finish it off. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Bring on the flow! Awesome. All right, much love to you all. Have a wonderful day, and see you online soon.